that's the stat I can get behind to a certain extent. But he's, I can't really argue with those stars, so.
Photography, yeah. He was a fashion photographer before he moved over to Hearthstone. His tag, Tyler OOTD, Tyler OOTD, if you want to pronounce it, outfit of the day. Is
aggro, and he's just brought full aggro lineup. Tempo Mage being banned out, but there's the Odd Rogue, the Zoo Warlock, and the Token Druid, whereas Tyler loses his Even Warlock, but has Quest Rogue, Death Rattle Hunter, and Mali Druid.
Yeah,
it is the
banning and just be fine with that.
Yeah, and with the added bonus of, at least for Tincho, knowing, well, he's not going to ban the Token Druid, right? No matter which way you look at it, definitely the strongest deck he has a lineup against. But let's kick it off. Tincho on the Zoo Warlock and Tyler on this Quest Rogue. So he's been feeling confident with the deck, and you know, he kind of has surrounded himself with a pool of players that have also played a lot of Quest Rogue. So it's going to be one of these guys that has a fair knowledge of this deck.
He is, yeah. But if you just go by online tracker stats, here are Tyler's matchups with Quest Rogue in this series: 10%, 39%, 26%, and 47%. I would argue you can bump all of those up at least 5% in reality if you're as good a Quest Rogue player as Tyler is. That still kind of sucks.
I don't know, from what I've heard from Quest Rogue players, you just win.
That is accurate, yes.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's definitely not great, and you know, Tyler just kicking off with the Quest Rogue. Just thinking, well, doesn't matter the Q order directly. Let's start with the hard one first.
Yeah.
Get it done.
And we saw this matchup on day one. I believe we were casting again. I was talking about the importance of 3 cards in particular: South Sea Deckhand, Glacial Shard, and Lab Recruiter in the early game. Yesterday when we were casting Zoo, it wasn't the Lab Recruiter version. Tyler is playing Lab Recruiter. No great surprise, because Casey, Complexity teammate, was one of the first real big advocates for that card. And Tyler here echoing the play from one of our Gamer Sensei's pieces with Rusty, echoing that kind of playstyle of just putting out a 2-1 first. Actually, it wasn't. It was the well-played moment from Talkstone that was talking about that.
It was the well-played moment.
Developing minions out in front of the quest, which is definitely correct in a lot more situations than that stat that Frodan came out with would suggest.
Yeah, and it's a reasonable start. It means Tyler can just as we can see, counteract the turn 1 play from Tincho, and that's just a big deal when you are scrabbling for every point of health that you can possibly hold on to for now, because we have seen this matchup say if you can just stabilize for a turn or two in turns 5 or 6, the game can flip very, very quickly, as Zoo is an absolutely fantastic deck and has the bulkiest early game minions. Well, if all of your rogue minions are 4/4s, well, that changes quite dramatically. Take the straight trade, and now a bit of a... There was actually multiple levels of choices there. The obvious hero power or the scale hide, but could have used that turn, a quiet turn, so to speak, to get the quest. But you are floating that 1 mana, and again, similar to using every point of health possible, you also want to use every point of mana every turn to keep it up.
Exactly, yeah. And also just not having the dagger equipped going into turn 3 would then just really limit your options,
exactly,
right? Like, here you have Scale Hide quest on turn 3, like doing that the other way around doesn't really work out. You also give yourself a Fan of Knives turn while already having the dagger equipped if you want to... Equipped? Just playing Arena and moaning about flame strikes. If you wanted to take a Fan of Knives turn and delay the quest even longer, then you can do that because you've daggered up. Like, dagger just seems vastly superior that turn.
Although the Fan of Knives turn looks really bad this turn, for me at least. You do clear off one of the minions, but which one do you kill?
Right.
And are you just terrified of any kind of heal? Because one Fungal Enchanter and Tyler could just be dead. Quest? Oh, it's kind of Scale Hide, yeah.
Yeah, quest Scale Hide.
If you're attacking, you do have to kill something.
Of course, the Lifesteal plus Light Warden interaction is always something that you have to look out for. He could have still chosen to kill the Flame Imp without buffing the Light Warden by like sending the Lifesteal in first, so it didn't actually heal and then taking 3 extra damage, or at least 1 extra damage due to the sequencing, just to prevent the buff on the Light Warden. But all things considered, just chose to get rid of that minion, that very dangerous snowbally minion while he can.
Right, and at least the other minions are predictable from Tincho, but that heal is the one thing that can just blow you out of a game. Also, this keeps the Scale Hide alive, so seems reasonable to me.
It does seem just dramatically better, yes.
Yeah.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
All these small things really make a large impact in this game of, well, Tincho could have just gone face with that Flame Imp, but he chose to take down the Scale Hide. Why is that? Is that quest shenanigans or just not giving Tyler as many options as he would want?
It's a good question because the trade actually makes him more vulnerable to Fan of Knives, which we see in Tyler's hand, whereas the 1-2 Scale Hide isn't really doing anything against 2-3 Saronite chain gangs. The only risk then you have at that point is Sonya is the big one. You do not want to let a charge minion get Sonya'd at any given point. Sorry, a rush minion get Sonya'd at any given point. The other bouncers are whatever. If you're actually just going to like Lab Recruiter and Youthful Brewmaster and Shadow Step your Vicious Scale Hide, you're probably not getting to quest completion fast enough to deal with Zoo. But yeah, Sonya would be terrifying.
Yeah, a small nod as well to backstab, just in case, because I feel like some players kind of forget backstab is actually ran from Quest Rogue, at least at the moment. So not massively backbreaking, but he maybe could have killed off a chain gang there. Do you see Tyler just trying to multiple turn clear off some of this board, but when it takes you so many turns and so many hits, this damage is going to have to start stacking up very, very quickly in Tincho. All you'll want to do this turn is, what is the most likely outcome in which I can stick 2 minions this turn so I can Fungalmancer the turn after, because suddenly Quest Rogue doesn't really have game versus Fungalmancer apart from bouncing Glacial Shards.
And this is really important for Tyler. The back-to-back fans have meant that Tincho goes into turn 5 with only 1 minion in play for Fungalmancer. Tincho has had a really bad draw over the last couple of turns. He's essentially just had to play out a 3-mana 3/3, which we saw in the previous series as well. Tincho choosing to value the Blood Knight higher than the ability to play a Happy Ghoul for 0 later on, which I agree with. Like, if Giggling Inventors start coming down in this matchup and you actually have to ship 4 attacks into them, that can be where the game starts snowballing away.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, Fungalmancer just on this Happy Ghoul creating a 5/4 and a 2/2 on the board is still frustrating and a problem for Tyler, but it could be worse, and that's all you're trying to do with Quest Rogue in this matchup is don't make it worst case scenario.
That prep can come in clutch very soon though, and I like this, just playing stats here. Lab Recruiter just being used to activate the Elven Minstrel, and just playing 2 3/2s actually competes with this board very nicely. The danger here is that Tyler only has 17 health to play with. There's seven represented on the other side already. Second Fungalmancer would be the one thing that Tyler doesn't want to see here, just because of how much damage it represents. Yes, he can prep Vanish afterwards, but it's so much damage being pushed without discard effects that then if there's Soulfires and Doomguards behind that, the 1/2 lethal punch can just come through too quickly.
Yeah, we think we saw a similar game from Saiyan, right? Yesterday, when he was being assaulted quite heavily and then just managed to pull the prep to get the quest out.
Yeah, basically the game was, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead, prep quest, Giggling Inventor.
And then the game just ends. Yeah. Tyler's a little bit further away because I believe Saiyan did have the deckhand Sonya, I think, to get that quest done. So Tyler isn't there, but it can be done, is the key point.
But I suspect the way this game is marching forward, we're going to be seeing Prep Vanish used as some kind of board reset and combo bounce effect, if possible, from Tyler's side. It's just he doesn't really have any kind of minion that he wants to go off on in hand just yet, unless he wants to just stall out the game with endless Giggling Inventors.
Well, do you not think he could Giggling next turn, depending on what this board looks like, he could plan to Giggling next turn, then Giggling Prep Vanish the turn after. So that leaves a completely empty board, but you were moving towards the quest and have Giggling Inventors and Annoytrons to play.
Yeah, I imagine that as you were saying it, the next turn was going to be a Giggling turn. Giggling Brew is also an option here that I was looking at. Giggling Step, same thing. Essentially, there's going to be a lot of Giggling Inventors played over the remaining turns. It's just a matter of, which turn do you want to allocate the Shadow Step, which turn do you want to pair with Prep Vanish. Obviously, the 8-mana turn becomes fairly obvious, but ideally in this matchup, you really want to Prep Vanish and then play something out ahead of it, right? So you could go for a Shadow Stepped Giggling Inventor first, and then Prep Vanish, play the Giggling Inventor that you've Shadow Stepped.
This is... It's a weird interaction now in this matchup, or in any matchup that plays Blood Knight, where your opponent's going to spam Gigglings, you play Blood Knight,
they just put another Giggling in the way.
But it gets vanished, potentially, as we can see.
Sure.
And then you're like, but we're just going to be in the same spot again. Like, why are you doing this? It's just like a weird point into when that Blood Knight fits in and when it doesn't.
Right.
Because you can't always just keep replaying it against Giggling because it might cost too much mana based on the rest of your hand, for example. It's just weird. Soul Infusion as well, being in hand and not being able to hit a duplicate for most of this game so far is frustrating as well, because
you can make a real thick Blood Knight though if you
can, but is it ever going to hit face?
No.
Is my frustration or worry if I was Tincho right now. Gonna use the Soul Infusion on the Ghoul just to neutralize the mana and get the 5/5 out.
Still only 4 minions on board, and one of them just dies to this Brewmaster that's in play, and Tyler now has Prep Vanish twice available, or Prep Vanish once, and Prep Quest once. Like, so many of the most explosive tools for Quest Rogue are now available to Tyler, along with a nigh endless chain of giggling inventors.
So many options.
I wonder if just Shadow Step and then replay the giggling is good. Because it has to be replayed. Yeah. If not, it means the 4 attacks for the Gigglings or for the Anoitrons are already on the board.
Yeah.
But most importantly, if there's an attack from hand, i.e. a Soulfire, then that means that Blood Knight gets to whack you in the face for 9.
Have you ever completed Quest on a Noyatron?
I have not played Quest Rogue that much.
It's a good
I've played a decent amount of Quest Rogue, but never not to that extent. Right. It's not a common occurrence.
Oh no. I've done it exactly twice. Once was for fun, and once was a similar situation to this, where I just ended up with a bunch of Anoitrons on the board and vanished them all.
Now it sounds greedy, but I wonder like how long it took Tyler to think about, do I need to vanish this turn? You know, well, because look at the amount of Anoitrons, right?
Yeah.
It's so difficult to get through.
That's 4.
Ooh, yeah, get that cheeky 1 damage in first. Here comes the vanish.
It's 5 Anoitrons in hand.
I'll just...
Forget the giggling inventor next turn. You know you want to, Tyler.
Unfortunately, it does not get you extra points, but it gets you respect points. Respect points.
You style on them. That is definitely extra points.
Oh, wow. Welp, when I said Quest Rogue can come back once it survives to a certain point and draws reasonably well, if not amazing, yes, it can be done, and we might be seeing it again right now. Do love the preemptive prep, just to say I will not overdraw this quest on one of the biggest stages in the world.
Yeah, it's never relevant apart from with Novice Engineer, but it's just a good habit to have, right? Because if you always do it that way, you'll never burn your quest on a Novice Engineer.
And if you burn your quest on the championship stage, a little bit more embarrassing than ladder.
Then you qualify again next season, and the casters spend the whole time talking about how you burned your quest.
Oh yeah,
that's just how it works.
Yeah, that's going to be the concede.
Good decision.
I mentioned earlier, you cannot beat it because it's not like other decks that have some huge minions, some board clears, some tricks.
And if they draw the wrong part of their deck, then you can still
a little bit on his streaming, and actually just said I need to work on getting good at tournament play, and we're seeing it pay off. When someone says they've been doing it for a few months of the year and then it works, you can't really argue with their at least work ethic or learning process.
Yeah, and they are very different animals. You know, ladder play and tournament play are very separate just in terms of the range of knowledge that you have to have of matchups. You know, if you're grinding ladder, you can do so with just one deck. If you want to pick the right deck, you can just play that one and just play it over and over again and learn 6 or 7 matchups and you're good. It's not like that in tournament, and also lineup construction, how your decks interact with each other and other lineups in the tournament is a completely different subset of Hearthstone that you have to really learn when you start getting into competitive play. So
also, just not playing from home is actually
very
a big deal.
Yeah.
Kind of difficult. Some of the players have already mentioned, oh, I've taken a jacket on stage. It's a bit cooler than what I would like it to be, and so on and so on. Maybe the chair isn't that comfortable, not used to the home chair. Well worked in, but kicking off now, it's going to be the Hunter from Tyler, and again, Tincho on the Zoolock. Tyler not off to a terrible start, mainly, yes, Kaliseth coin seems good, but also just a flanking strike, mind control tech. These are the great cards to bow that early hunting, early zoo game.
Yeah.
That Hunter needs. Hunter doesn't need to dominate early game to be aggro, it needs to survive the early game to be aggro, and these cards help.
Yeah, and actually, like, the Coin Kaliseth was a big debate there because Coin Flanking Strike could be massively powerful here. Coin Katharena could be massively powerful here if you need it to be a Witchwood Grizzly later on, or just pull out a big minion just for if you need to clutch out the game and just deny Zoo life tapping their way back into it. So spending the coin there on the Kaliseth wasn't a given for Tyler, but just how nicely it ends up contesting this Flame Imp is probably too good to pass up.
And I think on top of that, losing up the turn 2 for the tracking anyway is worth it, because the tracking might be what pushed that decision over the edge. Because otherwise, you don't really want to just press hero power versus Zoo turn 2.
Well, otherwise you would have tracked on one Kaliseth on 2. So the difference is that you track and get a buffed minion instead of an unbuffed one.
Yeah, and also just the fact that on top of the Kaliseth trading with a minion board.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just ticking all the boxes in for Tincho. For Tyler, sorry. two names begin with T. I feel like I'm going to mix them up. But now, Tyler has his choice of 3 drops. That Devil Saw Egg again, as you mentioned, +1/+1, which means it does actually fight with this board pretty well. At least before minions played.
Double Flanking Strike and the Mind Control tech to follow this all up. He has taken a beating here from Double Flame Imp, but even if you contest 1, if your opponent has 2 of them, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And there's Shaw as well. I think he'll just about have enough security to bring that thing down on turn 4. And we had a little debate last time about the relative win rates of this matchup, and then we discussed it afterwards. And I was talking about like breaking down this matchup in terms of 3-3s and how the Hunter has so many tools that can test multiple 3-3s, because you can split hairs, but a huge chunk of the minions in Zoo are 3-3s, right? Like Flame Imp is a 3-2, kind of the same thing, and there's a big old pile of 3-3s across the board. Flanking Strike can kill 2 of them. Houndmaster Shaw unbuffed kills 2 of them, because Zoo has to respect it and trade in. When it's a 4-7, that's an entire other minion that has to go into it as well to stop that threat coming out.
It's going to be tricky to use, though, because I'm the biggest advocate of Shaw on 4 every time, but it does allow Tincho to potentially pump enough damage to just ignore it and just say, okay, you do your fancy Shaw stuff, you're dead next turn. You need to do too much mana's worth of removal to actually make anything happen here. So this turn is, for me, the turn that decides the game, and it is on Tyler's side of the board.
Yes. I agree, and I think the conclusion that at least hope Tyler is going to come to here is that Flanking Strike ends up being stronger than Houndmaster Shaw, because it just denies so much Fungal Mancer damage if that's the threat that's coming through. I was talking in the last game about how when you're kind of hovering around half your HP, like the 12 to 18 kind of range, Fungal Mancer is always the card that you don't want to see, because it's hard for Zoo to just kill you out of hand, like just with Soulfires and Doom Guards, because they don't interact well with each other. But if they land Fungal Mancer and hit you, that's when they can just blast 1 Soulfire, 1 Doom Guard, 1 Leroy from hand.
And this Fungal Mancer has a bit of a benefit of not being a 3-3 or a 2-2 at this point. It's in fact a 4-4, as it took the Soul Infusion buff as well. So now, again, Tyler has to answer a couple of bigger questions. I think Saul just tried to do some kind of mind meld power pose to send some, strong thought. Look at Tyler, he's receiving it. It's like, what's going on? This is not allowed.
Look, I said in-game I was going to be unbiased, all right? Stop giving my secrets away.
The camera's always rolling, Saul. We know that more than anyone. Hunter's Mark is going to be pretty useful here if Tyler so chooses to just negate 1 minion and get a 5-5. He's going to go for Ziliax instead.
Luckily, that was the message I was trying to transmit. How Master Shaw Hunter's Mark just looked so promising there, but I think the Ziliax just gives him that little bit of extra security that really shuts all the doors for Tincho as he's trying to develop into this.
No heal.
No.
Tincho.
That would have been a really sick Soul Infusion if he had like a Voodoo Doctor in his hand, for example.
Solarium, but yes.
Sorry, yes, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Only because Soul Infusion's in the hand. I'm not normally picky about these things, but I don't want to confuse the audience.
Must destroy.
And now, this is a bit of a problem for Tincho, is even just the minions on board kind of beat this, although I will say that this Light Warden needs to be flanking striked. Or never mind!
Alternatively,
purely because the lifesteal causes weird things to happen from the Ziliax, but Tyler just I'll small look up to Tincho and be like, get mossied.
Yeah, mate. 3-8, by the way.
Tyler is not playing the Argus, if I'm right. He's playing one Giggling Inventor.
Yes.
Quick game number 2, and Tyler just quickly, you know, tap of the hands, a nod, look up, relax. This, we said, was favored for Tincho. We promised we just have those down.
Must protect.
You're feeling pretty good about the game, almost no matter what has happened before that point. So let's get straight into it. Zoo, once again for Tincho. Tyler.
Oh, he's nodding.
Yeah, he's feeling pumped.
Remember, your opponent is about 5 feet from you, Tyler. That wasn't very unbiased, was it?
I know, yeah.
Outright advice.
Yeah. Luckily, just to give you some heads up, the players are wearing soundproof headsets, so although Sol is trying to influence the game, he is in fact not.
He definitely was not nodding at the quality of his opening round.
I think he's... Never mind.
Job's done.
He's still a long way away from that Malfurion.
As long as he gets close to there, he normally gets there with mouth.
Alright.
But maybe he did it on purpose. It was like, yeah, good hand to trick Tincho.
The bait and switch.
Yeah. Definitely not a bad opener for Tincho, though. He does have multiple cards that set up for that big turn 5 player Fungal Mancer. He does have the Imps and the Sirenite Chain Gang. Voidwalker, not worth the coin in that situation. Tincho can reassess next turn whether he draws an additional 1-drop or whether he wants to tap instead.
Yeah, I think the coin here actually does represent a lot of damage over time because you coin a Voidwalker and put it in the way, and Tyler can't just hero power the 2-1, so it gets to connect. But coin Fungal Mancer, coin Sirenite Chain Gang, as well as the ability to coin Soul Infusion plays if you pick it up based on the left 2 cards in your hand right now are insane. So the coin definitely seems to, on average, represent more oppression later on than it does right now.
Well, this looks relatively weak as a board. It's still, if it pushes 3 to 4 to 5 damage, that's still a big chunk actually, and nice extra damage you want there. And Sol, talk to us.
He's considered it heavily, but this is the right decision. If he heals himself back up to 30, and he doesn't then life tap over the next couple of turns, if he then needs to have a heal turn so that he can activate Happy Ghouls, Light Wardens, whatever it is, he can't do that because he's back up at 30. So healing the 1/3 minion while he is at 28 may look weird to a lot of people hanging on, but it is very much correct.
Why Tyler is deep in the tank here, we can hear some words from Tyler that are definitely not live.
I do think I have a big advantage because I practice with all of the top players from EU, also all the top players from NA.
One of the things that Tyler didn't mention there, or the region that he didn't mention, was APAC. He says, I have an advantage because I practice with all the top EU players and the top NA players. We asked him as soon as he walked into the interview room. So, first APAC playoffs, first qualification. Is APAC free?
Wait,
Raven, what was his response?
You can probably hear me rustling through my notes. Do you want to read the first line of my notes on Tyler?
Tyler, dash. APAC is free.
Exactly the notes in my book. It was the first thing we asked him, the first thing he replied with quite confidently. And then, you know, that was a quite bold statement, but I then followed up with, okay, so you are the best player in APAC? He said, yes. He mentioned names like Dak Revius, like Surrender, like current world champion Tom. He said, yes, they are very, very good. They're close. I am better. So
but I am European.
And I will dominate the region. But Tyler seems to be doing okay. You can't really argue with his words at this point, being 2-0 up in the series. And he looks like he is getting to this Malfurion and this Plague and this UI very comfortably, sort of.
That one wild growth off the top just changed everything. This Fungal Mancer that Tincho has been holding onto the coin for is going to be very relevant because it will allow him to just chunk through these plagues a little bit better, especially now Double Despicable Dreadlord have come out to play. But yes, that wild growth, meaning that there isn't just a dead turn next turn, he can now just go Plague into Malfurion, into some kind of swipey, branchy, pathy kind of middle ground, and then he just has big options later on. This hand's now looking like it might buy enough time, but you will be surprised how much of a wall Zoo can beat through in this matchup.
Yeah, and I will say as well, the fungal placement is on point in line with Plague, because making the 2 4/4s means that hit into 2 taunts, Dreadlord, as you said. You know, just clears them off no matter what, and then you can deal with the rest on the next turn. Especially when you only need to then do 3 damage to any plagues that are left, because the double Dreadlord is very frustrating and almost impossible for Druid to deal with, to be honest.
Yeah, upgraded Spellstones are basically where it's at for dealing with that Dreadlord problem.
Do you think this is ever swipe turns?
I was just eyeing various...
Swipe hero power removes, what, 7 damage off board, only leaves 6. You take 1, so you'll be 15, go to 9.
The Void Walker's irritating. If you could then hero power the 2/2, it looks like a really nice swipe, but the problem with swiping here is that it's one of the weird, like, anti-synergies between a card like Swipe and a card like Spreading Blade, because when you swipe, you kill off small 1 and 2 health minions combining with hero power, but then that leaves their big minion on board a lot of the time, and what that will do if he like thins this board down to just a couple of 4/4s, Tincho can then just go ahead and like be playing 4/5s from hand and not play small minions, and Tyler's Plague just never really gets good again from that position. So I like seeing the play come out first and then trying to use swipes to tidy up later.
And one thing that is quite nice here is Malfurion can get Tyler to turn 8, in which double swipe clears off. I said it was almost impossible to clear off 2 Dreadlords as Druid. I said almost for a reason. And the double swipe turn on 8 is going to be looking pretty nice. And Tyler's just going to get there. Malfurion, plus 5 armor, plus 2 1/5 taunts on the board. It has to get chunked through by Tincho.
Tincho really deep here on where he wants to send this 1 damage from the Void Walker, if anywhere.
Yeah, he wants either it to deal 2 or to require 2 mana, right? Versus it just dealing 1 next turn. They're being cleared up very easily.
Yep. It means if he'd have poked one of the 1/4s there, for example, then the 1/4 comes back in, and then the other 1/4 kills a 2/1 for free, which, you know, is a big deal.
Now I do struggle to see past the Malfurion. It does feel frustrating because the minute you wall is going to go down.
I'm curious if you also Moonfire a 2/1 here. I would argue no, because it's more flexible to hold it with a proposed double swipe turn on the next turn.
Yeah.
You then will be able to kill a 3 health minion with splash damage that way. But with the Dreadlord being there, he does do it.
Okay.
Yeah, with the Dreadlord there, so this is why I immediately leapt to doing this, because you were going to be left with 2 1/3s at the end of the turn. So then the 2/1 hits a 1/3, the Dreadlord clears it off. Whether that matters more than being able to deal with 3 health minions with the double swipe play remains to be seen. Whether it's necessarily always a double swipe turn next turn also remains to be seen.
Yeah, a lot of things can change. I will say as well, though, double swipe into either branch, even with just the cards Tyler has right now, if he didn't draw any cards for the next 2 turns or 3 turns, he's still looking great because he's got UI for the turn 10 anyway, so it's looking like he should be okay here. And the cards he has are flexible enough, whether it's a self Alex Strauss is needed, or whether branching pass for card draw, even plus attack, or just straight up 12 armor with a hero power, which is another 3 if he wants it.
Oof.
Oosh.
Voodoo Doctor is going to help out here quite a lot, but a spread like this on the board with a bunch of 4s and 2s is kind of exactly where Tyler wants to be at. Is to take care of one of these 2-3 chain gangs as well with the attack from his Beetle if he wants to go that way with the double swipe.
Wow. You literally leave 1 Saronite up at the end of this turn. That is not the position Tincho wanted to be in. I genuinely thought Tincho was going to go for the second Dreadlord, which, don't get me wrong, wouldn't have ended up much different.
No.
But Druid often just doesn't have the ability to deal that well, whereas a second Plague plus Branching is a bit of a problem here too. Whereas I thought just the 2 Dreadlords would be more resilient to what Tyler can do. Tyler did mention as well to us that he was fixing some, or trying to fix some bad habits he picked up in tournament play, and one of them was playing too fast, and he took a long time to do the play that was very clearly the best there.
Yeah, I think similar to my process there is, you know, I saw the thing that you said out loud immediately, like, okay, well, you just leave a 2-1 chain gang on the board. Then you're like, I'm just going to like run every permutation in my head in case there's a board clear here that I'm missing.
But like I said, it's just relevant because Tyler was saying he's now forced himself to take his hand off his mouse and look at the game instead of just, okay, you play this, you play this. He said streaming as much as he did got him into the rhythm of actually just, just play a card. Yeah. Okay, just play the card.
And also,
okay, just play the card.
When your main practice partner is Casey, you are going to get sped up at least a small amount from having to run sets with Casey over and over and over.
At least a few miles per hour over the speed limit.
Yeah. Now Tincho just has to reload again from this position to a point. He has to make a threatening enough board that Tyler can't just commit everything that he wants to onto the board. And I'm not sure that Dreadlord and Flame Imp is really good enough. I do like the Soulfire though, because the pressure is very, very important.
The focus from Tincho. Don't want to be knocked out. Not knocked out, don't get me wrong, sorry, knocked into the lower bracket of the group. And multiple times, Zooey's got so close, but so far. Yeah. And this is just another game, I think. Probably the final push. What could Tincho get into here? There's the one Doom Guard in the list, but outside of that, maybe Solarium. There isn't a lot to actually direct him into finishing up this game based on what Tyler does this turn. Or what we can see Tyler could do this turn.
Gain 12, Hero Power the 2-1, tank some damage for a turn, and then UI the 4-5 next turn. It seems perfectly reasonable.
Gain 24. just go deep.
I mean, I guess. I mean,
that is the safest play, right?
I guess that is a legal Hearthstone play. Doomguard off the top from Tincho is exactly what he needed. One drop would be ideal here because he just wants maximum pressure. Doesn't get it though.
Chain Gang is a mini army though.
It's true, but Tyler is going to go back up to 18 now, and there's only 8 coming back the other way. There's 12 more armor gain in hand. Tyler is actually quite happy to drop down to a low health total underneath that armor so that he can get full Alexstrasza value later on. And now he's building the swing turn. Malagos, Moonfire, Spellstone, all available in a single swing.
And let's be honest as well, if anything somehow becomes a threat, double naturalize, okay, you have cards, but you don't have damage.
Right.
It's not normally what you like to do versus Zoo, because the refill is so quick, but at this point in the game, to buy 1 turn's worth of time to stabilize, Tyler can press any of these cards and get the job done.
Look at the difference just an extra Flame Imp or a Light Warden that could be buffed this turn would have made if that was the draw off the life tap after the Doomguard instead of the Saronite Chain Gang. Don't get me wrong, topping the Doomguard after you've just ripped a Soulfire to face at the end of last turn is still a very, very good draw. But Tincho was in such a position that he might have needed an even better draw than that to come out of it.
Computing.
I'm just working out whether the trading's happening or not, but all I see here is Chain Gang defends the Doomguard, and not many cards can do 7, especially after seeing double swipe be played. So I think Tincho just has to say, right, push it all in, throw everything on the board, cross the fingers and see what happens. Tyler still needs to just keep control of the game for just a second. It's not done and dusted yet.
But crucially now he can use these naturalizers to swing, as we were saying last turn. And really the amount of cards that Zoo has is not relevant if Tyler can climb back onto the board state.
He could even just faceless the Doomguard, right? Faceless Doomguard, naturalize. Spellstone, naturalize. Kill stuff. Hero power.
It is all a little bit mana restrictive at the moment, because I think Tyler will want to jam this branching path sooner rather than later and pull himself out of range. Depending on how much he clears up, he might not need to.
Clear the board and still and gain what, 3 hours? Could you use the Moonfire and the Spellstone instead of a Natural Light?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mainly because I don't know what else is left that can kill Tyler, even if you use Naturalize.
I think that's just a judgment call from Tyler, just saying this turn isn't quite swingy enough for me to give my opponent all the cards in the world. Right? Like if he had 1 or 2 extra, like 2 extra minions on the board, certainly. Have as many cards as you want and develop into my board and I will kill you. That's fine. But with this board state, he wants Tincho just to have a little bit of a slow turn here, and then Tyler can try and swing harder next turn.
And also a part of it is just, what do you feel more comfortable dealing with, right? Because there is a certain element of that where, oh, I'm okay him having 6 damage because I gained 12 armor, versus I'm okay having no minions on board, but I'm on 10 health.
Right.
Whereas Tyler seems to be confident that he can just take down the trickling amount of minions that will come from Tincho. Problem now is the 5/5, nothing to sniff at, but it's just already dead if Tyler so chooses by what's on board right now, never mind anything else.
Right.
Now I just want to see Alex Tincho. Just the aggressive play deal too.
I think Alex your own face Naturalize is viable. Malagos Naturalize is viable. Nourish into draw things into gain armor or kill the 2/2 and drop the Arcane Tyrant. These are all actually very viable options from this position.
Saying no wild growth.
Because there's a second Tyrant left in the deck as well, right?
Yes,
so
there is.
Drawing 3 off Nourish has a lot of good outcomes here.
The problem now is, let's look at what's left for Tincho from pure memory. I believe there's the Blood Knight, there's no doubling imps left. There's a...
Because he only plays 1, right?
Yeah, the Solarium. And a Tar Creeper. Honestly, I'm not even that far away from naming the cards.
Although only like 8
I know, yeah. Okay, 2s of all those things.
Yeah.
The Alex coming down now is like, well, yeah, when you take the value trade and maybe even not naturalize, yeah, I was going to say, you know you're feeling pretty good about things.
There is that Blood Knight, looking a bit useless right now. No real option, but just to commit to the board and hope for the best. It's about all that Zoo can do when it gets to this kind of position. The agency is kind of taken out of the Zoo player's hands when it gets here. They just have to play minions and cross their fingers.
Okay, Nourish for... Okay, fine, Tyler. I wanted Nourish for cards into Moonfire for the win.
Tyler's eyes darting to all corners.
He's pausing now and working out whether he wants to trade or not.
Yeah.
And you would imagine this would have been worked out before he made the turn.
Agreed.
Because if you don't want to trade, you can do other things that isn't just play a Malagos.
Yeah, it comes back to the playing too fast thing, but honestly, there are very few players who never stop mid-turn to kind of think through options. But I totally agree that, you know, in the platonic world of forms of optimal Hearthstone, that is how it would be played.
And a couple of taunts, you have to buy Tincho a little bit of time in his mind, but we can see all the cards in the world available to get rid of. And Tyler, best player, self-proclaimed best player in Asia Pacific, kicking this tournament off with a 3-0 over Tincho. Very solid play, got the job done. Sottle, you may relax. Woo. Okay, I expected more from you, but fine. Just a nice sigh and a lean back in your chair.
Right about now.